What is up, y'all? 17 of 23. Went with a shorter intro, by the way, today. Forgot about that. That was for Damon last night. You almost caught me off guard. You spying on me? What's happening? Seventh in the Western Conference. Hard to believe we are at that point with this team, but 17 of 23 on the road. We will see what it's going to be. But as for last night,
I want winners.
and you had some. The Kings got the win against the Warriors. In fact, I've got audio from Draymond Green in the hallway last night.
Light the beam. Light it.
Yeah, who knew? Who knew? Draymond, Kings fan. Should have known. The overalls, man. Those overalls were a great look for Draymond. Good job, Dre. Anyways, a lot to get to. We've got audio from last night. We've also got a ton of just different NBA news, odds and ends, and an interesting baseball story that has to do with collecting. I know some of you like to collect cards. You are back in the, I don't even want to call it a hobby. It's like a business now. One thing I want to get to in that realm, and The Athletic. How about them coming out with basically their trade deadline guide, going through each player, best fits, what you think you could get them for, and traits. So we're going to run through that together since I do have an Athletic subscription. And your feedback, Kings in Denver tonight. Much to talk about with that one. It's going to be a tall task. It's going to be a very tall task for them to get it done. But if there's a team that can do it, it's them. They played Denver pretty tough over the last season and a half. Remember the last time they played Denver in the G1C, it was without Keegan Murray. That made a huge difference. So we'll get into everything on the other side. Welcome in, Dennis. What's up, my man? Thank you, Dennis. Dennis is like our, I don't know, como se dice, shams, I guess. Thanks, Dennis. Yes. Trade deadline, 3 p.m. Always 3 p.m. I'm thinking I'm not going to do a trade deadline show. Every time I do a trade deadline show, nothing happens. Maybe this year will be different. We'll see. Anyways, thanks for being here. Let's get it on the other side. 90 minutes to get you set, send you into the late afternoon before Kings and Nuggets coverage right here on the channel. Welcome to the Kings Court.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the time to Williams, the D-Hop. Fox, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like
that. Court is in session. That 30-second countdown kind of screwed me up. I thought I had another 30 seconds on the backside. I wasn't all the way ready. Should have been ready. I was a minute late. Anyways, what's happening? Happy Thursday. The Kings winners last night against the Warriors in a very exciting second half. Grant, Jerry, and myself all had the Kings winning that one at the end of the halftime show. Grant and I thought it was going to take 70 or more points. It did. And it came down to defense, and free throws. What? Free throws? Are free throws now in the recipe for
light the beam? Light it.
I think they absolutely are. That's your second straight game where this team has closed out the fourth quarter, shooting very well, perfect from the free throw line. So a trend we want to continue seeing. Now, I'd like to see a little bit more consistent throughout the game, but now I'm nitpicking. What are you up to today? What's going on? We've got a full day of programming here on the channel. I'm with you for about 90 minutes, leading you up to 2:35, 2:40, and then we'll be back at 5:15. That's going to be the show where we really dig into the numbers. That's where we usually get down and dirty, get up to it in our elbows, in statistics, net ratings, whatever it may be for that game. So join us for the pregame show. We'll get you ready for the Nuggets and the Kings halftime. Jerry will be joining me, and then postgame, Grant and I will be back getting you all set up. I'm leaving Dennis's comment up because I think there is a valid question about this trade deadline that I want to kind of ask throughout the show, get your reaction. You can call the show using the QR code. Also, you can use the link in the chat if that works for you as well. And the question is this. Before Mike Brown got fired, I think it was pretty clear a move needed to be made by this team. The bench was thin. Mike Brown's rotation was inconsistent. Well, Doug Christie takes over, had some success. I thought DeMar DeRozan said a very key word that stuck out to me last night after the game. We're going to hear from him shortly. But Doug Christie got him on a good run. I like it. They're believing. They're playing harder on the whiteboard. There's usually one word on the whiteboard in the locker room before the games. Last night, it was M-E-B. M-E-B. What do you think it meant? There's some speculation out there. I think Sean Cunningham said, make them believe. I could see that being it. But Doug Christie is playing the mental game as much as he is the X's and the O's game, and it's working. I like it. But here's the bottom line. This team still is not good enough to contend at the top of the Western Conference. Now, were they built to be at the Western Conference or the top of the Western Conference this year? Probably not. They were built to get to a second round series. Hell, maybe a ceiling of the Western Conference Finals. And even though they've won a ton of games under Doug now, they're in the 7th seed in the West. You hit the road, 17 out of 23, as I said, to start the show, or on the road. And when you come back home from that road trip, you have an absolutely brutal, I mean brutal homestand. It's your longest homestand of the remaining season, and it is murderer's row. In fact, just to give you a taste, I believe you've got OKC, Milwaukee, and Boston. And OKC and Boston is a back-to-back. That's a rough back-to-back. So it's important the Kings try to come back from this trip above 500. But back to the trade deadline, in some ways, doesn't it make it more complicated for the Kings this trade deadline? Because isn't there an argument going around town, or a very easy argument to make? Well, maybe this team was just strictly underachieving. It was completely Mike Brown. The players were always there. I'm here to argue, no, the players weren't always there. And even in last night's win, we saw that to a degree. So I wonder, because of how this team has been ran historically under Monty McNair, and giving the preferential treatment, giving the nod of the cap to running it back, keeping things the same, not disrupting the core, is Monty McNair in the front office possibly looking at this thing and saying, you know what, we're gonna let this roster roll. We're not gonna, if we don't get John Collins, if we don't get Cam Johnson, which a lot of reports suggesting that ship has sailed, doesn't surprise me. We hit on that a lot about usually that stuff. By the time it gets out, that guy might already be beyond the Kings, and that's why it's getting out. But maybe they lay off a Valanciunas. Maybe they lay off a smaller trade and they run it through. I just don't know. And I'll pose the question to you. Do you think it's enough? Do you think that they're okay? Now, they don't need to make a move. I'd be really interested to get your opinion on that. A lot to get into in terms of last night. My goodness. Keon freaking Ellis, if you need him. Keon Ellis.
Where we at? Oh, yeah.
He changed the game around last night. In the third quarter, he put his teammates on his back defensively. It started with him saying, Steph, no more. And it's not like Steph was having a massive game, but one thing Steph was doing is he was distributing. He was making the right play. The guy that is usually good for 3 or 4 turnovers only had 1 last night, but Keon made some of the most fundamental yet impressive plays on Steph Curry that, unless you've got that basketball eye, unless you know what you're looking for, you may have missed. They might have gone over your head. the guys noticed, and it made everybody step up to that level. And before you know it, end of the third quarter, that deficit's knocked out. And once we get to the fourth, it is a 1-quarter game. It's a 12-minute basketball game, which the Kings end up winning. And it was funny looking at Keon's plus minus because it was a 0. Game plus minuses, individual game plus minuses do not work for me. Sometimes they don't make a lot of sense. Keon was a 0 last night, but to me, him and Keegan Murray had the biggest effect on the game. They are the ones that really kick-started that run that we saw in the third quarter, and it kick-started with the other side of the floor, which is defense. So really cool to see that happen. But tonight in Denver, Doug's kind of hinted at it. They might need to go deeper into the bench, which is not a surprise to me. Your bench did not play well last night other than Keon Ellis. So can Doug find a combination? I think it's going to have to include Devin Carter for this team to have some success in Denver and maybe even New York to a degree. And one thing that's kind of clear about Devin, and I think maybe it's why Doug went away from him last night, was he's forcing things right now offensively. Devin Carter's not on the court for the offense. The offense is an added benefit while he's on the court. He's on the court for the defense. So can he kind of get things to slow down a little bit more and get back into sync? We'll talk about all that and more. Let's see. What's up, Rock? DeMar had 19 points in the third quarter. That's your Kickstarter. Yeah, DeMar had an excellent game last night. DeMar was amazing. Jonas would be solid. Yeah, I don't disagree. Jerry feels the same way. Rhinomite, what's up, Rock? Grant is on this channel. I happen to have a show on Grant's channel. I am Rhino, Ryan in Sacktown. Nice to meet you, C Life, bro. Thanks for being here. Mondays through Fridays. During the day, I take it up. Grant and I are back at nights for Kings games. Like I said at the start of the show, pregame, halftime, postgame. So he will be here tonight holding it down. So if you've never seen me, nice to meet you, buddy. Hope you like the show. We're building a pretty cool and fun community around here that is a blast to be around. They will open their arms to you as long as you're not a troll. So anyways, let's get to some of the audio from last night, and then we're going to jump around a little bit. A lot of Kings stuff to cover, but a couple of other things that are not Kings related that I want to get to as well. Coach Christie, initial thoughts taking the stand last night.
Man, super proud of the fight that our guys showed tonight. Challenged them at halftime. That wasn't exactly how we get down, but the second half was more about what we do. There was just so many performances. DeMar, third quarter, Malik, Keegan defensively, Domas just continues to be a monster. Foxy, 10 for 10 from the free throw line. Like his aggressiveness and gravity in the second half. I continue to say it, like I don't really worry about him offensively. He's gonna, I mean, he's brilliant. So that's not it. But he continues to lead by example and win basketball games, and that's what he does. So across the board, I'm probably forgetting somebody, but I apologize. But love them all. Big time stuff from the guys.
Doug, Steph just had 2 points in the second half, 1 of 5 from the field, I think 3 turnovers. I know it was primarily a tandem of Keegan and Keon taking that responsibility.
Right.
What did you see from the two of them, the job they did on the best shooter of all time?
Listen, Steph is Steph. So you're not going to, and I've been there, so I understand, like, you're not going to stop him. You want to make it as humanly difficult as you can. And I thought that both of those guys did that. Domas on the blitzes went to a zone and sometimes that got us back in the ball game. And those guys, just ability to stay in the moment, to stay aggressive, and to know that, like, this guy is special and he's going to hit shots, but we're going to stay with our game plan. We're going to contest him and try to make him work as hard as we can.
What do you see as the biggest difference between your first and second half defense?
More than anything, I thought we were a little step slow in the first half on rotations. I talk about the front end matching the back end. When we talk about blitzing and those type of things, we let the ball be advanced in a blitz. Once it was advanced, now the guy's rolling in the pocket, he's hitting them, we're meeting them late, and those guys they have some size, so when you're meeting them late, it's tough. But in the second half, Keegan, I think, ran through one ball and got a steal. Like, those are the things we want to make sure that when we lean on anything, we lean on the side of aggressiveness. And
so it was a bizarre first half last night. It was probably the worst first half, and I know all of you or most of you in the chat are going to say Milwaukee. No. Milwaukee's offensive performance in that first quarter was ridiculous. The Kings got it back in the second quarter. In fact, I think they tied Milwaukee in that second quarter. This first half was the worst first half of the Doug Christie era. Now, the points don't show it per se that the Kings gave up to the Warriors, but it wasn't the Doug Christie Kings basketball that we've been accustomed to seeing. The hit first, the get to the loose balls, get to the 50-50s, and the stats bear that out as well. You look at some of the things, one of the things the Kings did in the second half that they have made a living on during this win streak, during the Doug Christie era, whatever you want to call it, it's turning defense into offense, and that wasn't happening. In fact, the Kings turned over the Warriors 7 times in the first half, but they only had 6 points off of those turnovers. They had only had 5 fast break points. Not how the Kings are usually going to win games. Also, how about this stat? This one blew me away. The Warriors turned the Kings over 5 times, but they made them pay for it almost every single time. They scored 13 points on those 5 turnovers. Do the math. Every time the Kings turned the ball over, the Warriors converted. However, part of that I think was game plan, and part of that was just shot making too. The Kings left guys wide open. The fact that they were blitzing Steph Curry that early on, I didn't think there was a big reason for it. It got the other guys comfortable. It got the G League guys for the Warriors comfortable. And I mean that with all due respect. Guy Santos, he's a heck of a G League player. I watched him last year. I watched him in the Western Conference Finals of the G League against the Stockton Kings. Good player, not as good as he showed last night. So that gave the Warriors some belief. The Kings came out in that third quarter and just completely changed their tune to the effect of, I was listening to, and by the way, if you missed yesterday, we had Damon Bruce on the show, which was absolutely incredible. Love talking with Damon Bruce. But Damon and I were catching up, talking more about historically the Kings and Warriors, talking about where both franchises are headed, especially at the trade deadline. But this morning, another person that I very much respect in the Bay Area media, he was talking about the game, and he covers the Warriors as well. And he was blown away by a couple of things. Some of the words I was hearing him say, I'm like, what? He's talking about the Kings being a fun team, being a scary team to play. And this is a guy that's lived through the Warriors dynasty. And I'm like, weird to hear that. And then to hear him gush over Keegan Murray. He even called the Kings dangerous. And there's an argument to be made about that. If you just pick up the remote and turn on the game to start the fourth quarter, or hell, start the third quarter, you wiped away the deficit in the third quarter. It was a clean slate come the fourth quarter, and that is largely due to, as you said in the chat, DeMar DeRozan offensively and Keon Ellis defensively. The blitzing went away. The Kings picked up the pace. Keon checked Steph very, very well. Now, the Warriors did get some offensive rebounds. Not a massive deal at the end of the day, but something certainly that needs to be cleaned up. Also, Doug went to a little bit more of a zone here and there, and guys were not being asked to make ridiculous rotations. I hit it on the post-game show with Grant last night. You had Alex Len rotating from the wing, the top of the wing, guarding a three on a dead ass sprint all the way to the corner and guarding another three. It's not going to work when you're doing that. And those were the positions that Mike Brown was commonly putting guys in with his defensive scheme and a lot of those doubles. And that's why we saw the Kings and guarding the three-point line be horrid during most of this season under Mike Brown, yet we've seen it come down. It's back to earth comparatively under Doug Christie because the Kings weren't doing those things. It got cleaned up as it should have, and they got the crowd into it. Yes, the crowd likes dunks. Yes, Kings fans like a three-pointer, but there's nothing more that Kings fans like than diving on the floor. It is getting loose balls. It's good defense. That's what gets the building going. That is when you become basically tennis players hitting the momentum back and forth between the Arco. I still call it the Arco Thunder. I don't care that it's at the G1C. Between the Arco Thunder of old days and this Kings team. And when that starts happening, good freaking luck. Good luck staying with the Kings. It is nearly impossible when the Kings play that style of basketball and they have the fans that involved. It is at a different level. It is an overwhelming home court advantage, something that has been greatly missed throughout the Kings' tenure at the G1C. So completely different second half from the first, and very impressed by the way the Kings were able to bounce back and flip it on its head. DeMar DeRozan after the game.
Make of their defensive effort.
I mean, you got to give them credit, man. Like I said, I mean, we all know Steph is the greatest shooter of all time, one of the greatest players of all time. So to have a collective effort to make it tough on Steph like that was big, especially us kind of understanding they was going to come out here and be aggressive. You know, we try to limit as much as we could as possible, and, you know.
No doubt, credit to them. DeMar, one more time.
In a moment like that, are there things that you're also saying to the guys to kind of rile them up?
Yeah, but I also kind of let my actions speak for itself, you know, and you know, a lot of times throughout the games, you kind of lean on a teammate to, you know, when they do something. It could be a charge, it could be a defensive play, it could be a hustle play, whatever it may be. You know, you kind of feed off that, you know, and I think me just being aggressive, you know, I think the guys responded with that as well.
DeMar, two questions. Number one, just to win games like this, to be on the roll you guys are on, how much does that feed into just the energy and the buy-in and the belief that you guys have right now?
I mean, it's everything. You know, not one moment of the game where we felt like we was down and out, you know, and the you know, especially using that energy here at home, on top of, you know, the confidence that the coaching staff give us, and we just go out there and lay it out there on the line. You know, we don't feel like we out of a game at no point, you know, these last couple of weeks.
And then looking ahead to this road, you know, schedule like 17 of the next 23. How daunting is that? How much of a challenge, and what's it going to take to kind of keep this rolling?
I mean, you look for those moments. You know, I think for me, it's a great character building, a great test for us as a team to go out on the road, bond together, be kind of like, you know, in enemy territory, out our comfort zone, and find a new, you know, side to us that give us that edge to keep pushing. You know, I think it's going to be critical for us to learn everything we can these next couple of weeks, because, you know, it's going to pay off.
And boy, oh boy, are they going to have the chance to learn. 17 of the next 23 on the road for the Kings beginning tonight in Denver. Clean injury report for the Kings. Those are your outs for Denver as of right now. No big surprises to those ones. Denver is rested. By the way, Denver 6-0 when they've had a day of rest. Can the Kings give them their first loss with a day of rest? We'll see. This is, as we've chronicled over the last 24 hours, a very difficult, very hard back-to-back. Even if the Kings would have blown out the Warriors in the first half, It's a hard travel. You've got a big road trip. It's not a one-game trip. Grant explained that last night. So there's definitely something to it. I see Dennis talking about history between these two teams. We're going to go over the one meeting between the two of them last year. And there is some similarities between this game tonight and a game that took place between both of these teams right around the same time last year. Yeah, I'm talking about that February 14th win in Denver. That was the first game that we kind of saw the physical, rough it out, tough it out Kings when the refs kind of started changing that whistle. And it was a game that 9 times out of 10, the Sacramento Kings lose, but they found a way to win it in Denver. Maybe tonight is going to be similar circumstances. As for the schedule, there it is for you. Denver, New York, I think they're both going to be big Devin Carter games. Now, you got to understand what I mean by big Devin Carter games. Offensively, not expecting much. But these are two teams, Denver and New York, that play a ton of pick and roll. This is the type of defense that you draft, or a type of offense that you draft a Devin Carter for. It's blowing up those pick and rolls. Same thing with Keon Ellis. You got to get some of that from De'Aaron Fox, who we'll talk about as well here in a few minutes. We're going to get to your chats as well. There's the West. Who would have thought a month ago that we'd be sitting here saying the Kings are 3 games over 500 and in the 7th seed? Incredible stuff. Don't blink, though. Houston beat Cleveland last night. OKC, SGA, career night, 54 points. No Hartenstein, no Holmgren. Doesn't matter. That team's set. They're going to be the top of the Western Conference. Period. End of story. 2 and 3 probably go back and forth between the Grizzlies and the Rockets. But that's why this trade deadline to me is so interesting. And it's not about getting a player that's going to move you up to the 4 seed, that's going to make you flirt with the 3rd seed. It's about getting a player that solidifies the next year and a half, 2 years of Kings basketball. Another piece of the puzzle that we talk about, because as far as I'm concerned, you've got 5 damn good pieces of the puzzle that you can count on, that all play little bit different roles, that all thrive in what they do best. And you've got a couple other pieces that can fit, but is it the right fit? Do you have to work a little harder? Do you have to bend that puzzle piece just a tad to make that other piece fit in? I think you have a couple of those, but I say this because look at the teams that are grouped up right now between 10 and 4. Yeah, the Nuggets probably going to be in that mix, but I don't see the Lakers hanging around. I think the Lakers, and even if the Lakers do hang around, they're on their way out. They're not closer to the opening of their window. They're closer to the door shutting on their run. Same thing could be said to a degree with the Clippers. I know they're playing a ton of young guys and getting some good performances. Defense under Jeff Van Gundy has been incredible for them. Kawhi's just getting back into the mix, but it's James Harden. It's Kawhi Leonard. Leonard's contract going to be coming up not this year, but next year. And Harden doesn't usually do much in the playoffs. I don't know that I can rely on them to be around all this season, let alone next season and the season beyond that. I could keep going team by team by team. What I'm saying is this is a trade deadline that you have to stay pat. You have to at least keep up with the Joneses, because these teams aren't going to sit around. There are some teams here that see there's going to be an opportunity, not just this year, but in the next couple years, to be in that top 6, top handful of teams in the Western Conference going forward. And it starts with making your team better right now. And so that's why I asked the question. And the question being, is it this success? Is it going to possibly make this franchise, Monty McNair, Vivek Ranadive, Doug Christie, to a degree, say, hold on. We've got how many games playing together like this? Is that enough of a sample size before we change things? Is it going to cause them to hit the brakes a little bit? I don't think this run should, but Give me your take in the chat on what you think about that Eastern Conference. That's how it sits. Don't care much about the East right now, to be quite honest with you. By the way, all-star starters being announced tonight for those that pay attention to those things. Blitz Len. Yes, if I said Blitz Len, I'm sorry, it's Blitz Curry, but you had Len basically playing the free safety role. Not the dude you want playing the free safety. What's up, Furious? How you doing today? As we continue to look at the series between, or the latest games between the Nuggets and the Kings. Let's see. I can't see your emojis. Y'all know this. DSC, what's up? It's a lot more refreshing to see us claw back from a deficit. So used to seeing us blow double-digit leads. Indeed, it's better to be on the other side of that. Ready for a Jonas, then John Collins. I don't know if you want both of those, Dennis. O'Brien, what's up, man? With this team, doesn't feel like big deficits or automatic issues. You can feel the confidence in this team. Okay, you just hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head. That was the word that DeMar DeRozan used in the post-game press conference. He said confidence. We're being instilled with all this confidence. And when I think back to the start of this year, I think back to the high times this year where this team was floating around 500 when they ran off 3-4 in a row. And I think back to the low times. Confidence is not a word. And I've listened to every single press conference since the beginning of training camp. I don't remember a lot of talk about confidence. I don't remember that being a point of emphasis with Mike Brown. And I'm not saying confidence needs to be in your core values, but I think for certain players in certain situations, it makes a difference. And if Doug Christie's infusing them with this massive dose of confidence coming off of a coach that was more, it's got to be perfect all the time. The best analogy that I can give you, I talked to somebody, and I told you a few weeks back, when Doug said he was going to simplify things, after I talked to somebody close to the team, they said the difference is the guys aren't thinking as much. They're playing more. And we've seen that continue to play out over this streak. This 11 of 10 game or 10 of 11 game win streak. We've seen that in action. But then I asked the same person, I'm like, can you kind of expand on what you said? Because it's really easy to understand what you were saying there, but like, I need more. Like, help me understand, like, how sophisticated was what they were being asked to do compared to what they're being asked to do now. And this was the exact analogy they gave me. The analogy was under Brown, towards the end, and especially at times early on in the season when the Kings were struggling, it felt like you were walking into the biggest buffet in Las Vegas, the nicest, biggest, most expensive buffet on the Strip, and you got a free entry to eat, and you're looking at all the different options around you, and you don't even know where to start. And I'm like, okay, it's a really weird one, but I kind of see what you're saying. Like, you want me to do I can do all these different things, or you want me to do all these different things, but shoot, which one's the best to start with? Do I do the crab legs? Do I get some shrimp? Should I go straight for the steak? And now under Doug, it's like all you need to do is bring yourself to the party. It's like going to a lunch reception where all you got to do is sit down, and the sit down part is the effort, the non-negotiables that Doug talks about, that we're going to bring effort. We're going to be relentless. We're going to bring the pace. You let me handle everything on the back end. You guys just do that, and we're going to live with the results. And most times the results are going to be good. And so they said under Doug, it's just like sitting down, and a server brings you a plate. And guess what? Then you get a salad, and then you get some bread. And it's just a rolling train. Everything starts coming to you rather than you going to everything else and not knowing where to begin. And so I get it. I kind of get it. I hope you guys kind of get that as well. You can draw your own lines of logic within there, but it makes complete sense. Like, there's only one way. Like, everybody's being fed the same thing. You all sit down at that luncheon. You're not ordering off of a menu. You all have a set menu. This is how it's going to be. You don't have to get up and do anything. They'll bring the lunch to you, but it's a set menu. This is in charge. And what's in charge is effort. What's in charge is playing together. And the results are, as we've seen, Doug's right. He says sometimes it might not come out in the left column. Sometimes it's going to come out in the right column. But as long as we left it all on the floor, that's all that matters. Most times it will work out. It's worked out. It's worked out pretty good. 11 of 13 times to be exact. Here's Keegan Murray talking about how important the home crowd is.
They support us. I feel like we have the best fan base in the league. Today, at moments, it kind of felt like we're back in the playoff game my rookie year. So just that environment each game, and it's mid-January. They don't have to come out on I think it's a Wednesday, but they don't got to come out on a Wednesday, and it's just been cool to kind of see them have our backs through thick and thin.
And then Doug again after the game.
Home is a special place, and I've tried to impart that message to our guys that we protect home. It's a safe place for our fans to come and just rock out and know that we're going to put on a show. We come here to play a certain way, and when you leave, win or lose, you're going to know that we came and gave you everything that we got. And that would have happened tonight if it would have won the right column instead of the left column. So going out on the road is about the biggest challenge that you can face in the NBA. These teams are extremely good. The ability to win or lose is super small, and we got to take care of business. We got to make sure that we're ready to play from the jump. We're going to depend on a lot of guys, and we just have to go out and play our basketball. And if we do that, we give ourselves the best chance to win, and that's what I'm hoping to see out on the road.
Coach, it's been obviously it's been a change in the team since you've been the head coach. Many people will point that as you and say you the reason for that. But from being that guy, what do you think is the biggest reason for this turnaround with this team?
I really think this is all about them. It's not really about me, man. It's about them believing in each other, them fighting for each other, them locking arms together. Everything that you're seeing them do is about a brotherhood that's bigger than what you go out and do on the court. It's about loving each other in a way that people, when they watch it, they can feel it. And that's what I think that we see. So, like I said, I try to put them in the best place. I talk. They probably think I'm a little crazy sometimes, but the point is trying to get that point across to them that when you care for each other this way, there's a vibe that goes with that is undeniable. And I think that's what everyone is seeing right now.
I mean, I'm not a Doug Christie homer, but I can kind of see it. Can you? It definitely comes across that way, and you know where it comes from. It comes from Doug's best stretch of his career in basketball, which was here in Sacramento. It's how that team was. So I've been ignoring the chat for a minute. We're going to get back to that. 9-1, Rock. I think 9-1 is the answer to that question. We are going to talk trade deadline as well. We're going to mix it up, mix that in, and go through what the Athletic has for us. It's pretty interesting. I'll give you a sneak peek, and we'll end up going through this together. But the Athletic has come out with basically their trade guide. So it goes down every player that is a quote unquote target who you might be hearing a rumor about. So if we just click on, for instance, a lot of talk about Cam Johnson right now in the chat. gives you a rundown of Cam's game, lets you know what he's been doing this year, the net stance on Cam, and then here on the right side, trade value estimated, best fit, and all the information on the player. So we're going to run through a few of these here in a little bit. So stick with us. Love having you here on the show again. Ryan in Sacktown with you, taking you up till about 2:40. Until then, we'll be talking Kings. We're going to talk this Paul Skenes story as well. I find this one really interesting, and we'll be getting ready for the game tonight. Also tonight, the pregame show, going to be a ton of numbers there. That's when we're going to get the keys to this one, and your calls and your input. Jerry Reynolds, halftime, he'll be joining me, and after the game, Mr. Napier himself. Napes will be here wrapping up the night. We'll be taking your calls and hopefully talking about a Kings win. If the Kings pull this one off, Grant already said it will be the most shocking victory of him or to him this season. So back to the chat really quick before we get to that other article. Steph makes it look so easy. Yes, effortless. Dude, Tristan, you just want to get your little line in, bro. Tristan, I'm on to you. Tristan's like, oh, I got to get effortless in. By the way, I got to play this really quick. Did you guys hear Steph Curry after the game? I was shocked. I could not believe what Steph had to say at the podium. Check it out.
Please get me some help, ownership. I'm begging you. If you want me to stay, get me Jimmy Butler. I was literally getting triple teamed out there the whole game. It's ridiculous.
That's terrible.
Post.
Okay, I got to stop it. It's not really Steph. It's AI. I get a freaking kick out of these AI made up press conferences, but most of them are not clean enough to play on the air. This one happened to be. So to be clear, this is AI Steph Curry. This is not really Steph.
I mean, I had to ask Steve Kerr who this guy was when he came on the court. I had never even talked to him before tonight. It's literally me and a bunch of G League players out there. How can I carry these bums for 4 quarters? Look at the players we had on the court out there. I don't think anyone has ever heard of some of these guys. Lindy Waters, Guy Santos. Who the hell are these guys, man? It's like we picked up some random players from the LA fitness runs.
There's so many good ones. The football ones, oh my gosh. They will have you freaking rolling. That had me good. This really was Steph Curry after the game. There was a report on an ESPN podcast saying there could be ties to Giannis and the Warriors in the offseason. So somebody in the locker room poking around. You remember Steph on national TV last week said, hey, you let us worry about what we're going to do. It's not for the, quote, Twitter fingers to decide what this franchise needs. He was a little bit more open to talking about a stretch 5.
Pretty quick. I know everybody who plays in the G is, kind of big-eyed when you get up here because of the pace and the physicality and the skill around the court. But you look very, look like he fit, so it was kind of cool to watch.
Whether it's him or, outside the organization, how much do you feel like you need in 2025, more minutes with a stretch big on the floor, you personally?
Just the way the league is going right now, you having space, having, as many shooters as possible at whatever position. The 5 definitely it helps. So I think, I don't know how many minutes we played in the first half, but it's just you have a counter to, aggressive defenses if they want to try to take the ball out of my hands. It should help Dennis a little bit too, in pick and roll type situations where you got to make the defense decide are they going to pull in or they're going to stay at home and, try to get downhill a little bit more and get into the paint and, create advantages off of his presence or a shooter's presence.
So that was Steph after the game. Interesting to hear him expand a little more. Hey, Finchy, it's your birthday, dude?
That don't make no sense.
That's for you, buddy. I know you love that drop. Happy birthday, Finch. Is your birthday cake made out of asparagus? Do you have asparagus-flavored ice cream to go with your cake, John? Don't answer it. I don't need to know. I'm just being nosy. Yes, I did say 17 of 23 on the road. Brutal. And what you come home to, that homestand, not much better. I think you have one day off and then the homestand starts. So it's going to be a rough one. I do agree with this, O'Brien. I do, but peripherals, it can't be like trade exception for Kessler Edwards peripherals. It's got to be, or peripherals, excuse me. It's got to be, I think, a Valanciunas, a Collins. It's got to be along those lines, or a name that plays that way that might be a little bit younger. Jerry Reynolds talked about this over the past couple weeks. It's about identifying some of those guys, like a Nick Richards per se. Phoenix thinks that they've identified him as somebody that could be an impact guy for a lower price. Can the Kings do that? They've done it well with G League guys and undrafted guys. I saw some stuff about Isaac Jones in the chat. He followed up. He chased his 42 night with a 35 night last night. Stockton won as well. Look, Kevin Huerter's minutes, I think that they are as good as gone. In fact, if I was Doug Christie at this point, I would be closer to not playing Kevin Huerter and making sure that he stays healthy and available for the trade deadline. That's what I would do. He only played 6 minutes before garbage time in the game before this. And last night, he looked awful. He looks out of sync. In fact, he looks like he's lost some weight. I don't want to go. I'm not trying to go in on him. He looks like he came into the season a little bit more built, and you expect that if you had a shoulder injury because you're going to be rehabbing your shoulders. But he looks a lot skinnier to me. I'm not sure what's going on with him. Just the timing completely off. I mean, guys are cutting a different way, and Kevin's throwing the ball there, and it's either going out of bounds or it gets deflected, and the Kings end up keeping it by some miracle, but he is not playing well whatsoever. Work the bench. Tony talking about, I'm not sure that's the guy. I'm not sure about him, but look, what I'm hearing is the Fox stuff. It's going to wait. There's no decision on Fox, and the only decision as we sit today, from what I am hearing from the people that I trust, and usually our information is spot freaking on this channel, is there will be no Fox move at the deadline. Now, that could change if you get offered SGA for Fox. Yeah, sign me up. We'll pick him up at the airport. But it does not look like Fox will be on the move. But that is a situation that the Kings, they have got to have their hand on the heartbeat of where him and Rich Paul are at. They have to. And maybe in some ways, going back to the question that we posed at the start of the show, maybe in some ways this winning streak, this Doug Christie era, possibly has bought the Kings some time when it comes to not having to feel pressured or cornered into moving a Keegan Murray, into moving a Devin Carter. In fact, reports came out today that the Kings will not or do not want to move Devin Carter. So I'm kind of happy about that. Now, it goes back to this. What can you flip Huerter and Lyles for? What can you do there? And where it comes down, it's not so much to me the Huerter and Lyles that's the hang up here. The hang up is the back end of the trade. It's the draft compensation. What are the Kings willing to give up draft wise? And what do they have to give up draft wise? Dennis, still a small sample size. Tony, we hit that one. Have people talking about the Cam Johnson trade being hung up on the first round pick. Kings want protected, maybe should do unprotected and ask for a second round. I think I truly believe, and it's been reported out there too. In fact, I think Sam Amick kind of hinted at it this morning. I think the Cam Johnson stuff is sailed. Now, anything could happen, just like in WWE. You never say you won't do business with somebody, but I think it's probably, I don't see it working. I don't. There's such a market for Cam. There's such a market for him. He's kind of that guy. So Nets are content retaining Cam, or content retaining Cam. Yep. GM waiting on the Greek Freak. You think so? Interesting. DC family. Yep, absolutely. Ryan, how are you? Good, sir. I'm good. What up, BG? How you doing, brother? I am great. Doing well. Happy to be here with all of you on a back-to-back day. Looking forward to tonight in the Kings and the Nuggets as we continue. Giannis to the Kings. Highly doubt it. The AI interviews are gold. Hilarious. Yes, they are so good. I freaking love them. Yet to Kermit. Well done, baby cakes. Look, Damon Bruce and I hit a lot of that yesterday. If you missed our conversation, go back and check that out. We talked a lot about Steph Curry and how the Warriors are handling that. Shanahan AI. Shanahan's a different dude. He is just a different cat. I can't say that I'm a Kyle Shanahan guy. I don't know. He just carries himself with this, swag that to me is maybe a little bit unjustified. That's just me. Might just be me. Finchy getting a lot of happy birthday wishes. Good for him. Happy birthday, my man. Thanks for everybody being here. If you guys really liked Finchy, like if you wanted to do Finchy a big solid, you know what you would do? Or what you should do? You should take your boy to Bennett's. Get him over to the West Side Grill in Rockland, or if Finchy doesn't want to go to Rockland, you can go to Roseville. That's too far. Then there's always Howe and Fair Oaks. Whichever one Finchy wants to go to, Bennett is there for you. Make sure that you go check out their prime cuts of seafood and steak. Also, great specials throughout the week. One of our favorites is on the weekend. It's the weekend brunch. Don't miss out on that. Throughout the week, like I said, just not the happy hour from 2 to 6, Monday through Friday. It's all of the other cool things that they do. And if you're having a get together and you want to have maybe more of a intimate space, you don't want to have tables pushed together, I get that. They can book out their private dining room for you. All three have one. And they can set the menu as well. Like, check out what Brian can do. He can do this in the restaurant. Hell, Brian can come to your house. Look what Brian sent me the other day.
I don't know about you, but if you're thinking about having a holiday party or a party of any kind, and you don't ask us to make our house smoked salmon, to grill our prime New York steak, to grill long stem artichokes, to make ahi pokey. What are you talking about? You're going to have a party and you're not going to call Bennett and have them take care of you? My goodness gracious. Give us a call. We can make this for Easter. We can make it for Christmas. We can make it for anybody's birthday.
And you can get those phone numbers at BennettRestaurants.com. Trust me, you will love it. If you don't, send me the receipt. And if you go and you love it and you send me the receipt, that's going to be bad karma. So be honest about it. Promise you'll have a great time. Let them know that you heard about it here on the channel. That is BennettRestaurants.com. 3 locations in the greater Sacramento area. Also, I want to welcome aboard one of our newest sponsors. Yes, I said newest sponsors. Envision and their owner, Max. Welcome to the channel. If you don't like that, Max has worked with us for the last couple of years on our different websites. A lot of our different tech, and he has been incredible. Talk about like you need somebody right now. Max is there for you. So if you're looking to take your business to the next level with your online presence, Envision's websites don't just look great, but they deliver great and real results. Whether you need a sleek, mobile, responsive design, SEO, Optima, commerce, integration, Envision Web Design has got you covered. Make sure that you give them a call. If you're in that boat, give Max and the team a call. They'll give you a call right back, 916-905-4293. That is Envision. Go check them out. Check them out. They are doing good work. And thanks to Max and the team for taking such great care of us here on the channel with a lot of our tech. And welcome aboard as the newest sponsor here on If You Don't Like That. So Kings and Nugs tonight. The Nuggets are favored in this one. Not a big surprise. These games, though, as of late, have come down to the wire. They have not been terrible games. However, the Kings were without Keegan Murray during the last meeting, and Aaron Gordon made sure that Coach Brown and everybody else knew about it. That was a very awkward game. Remember that? That was part of the home slide right around Christmas. Just a really, really bad one. Some people were thinking Mike was going to get fired after this one. But yeah, there's the stats from the last time these two teams met up. Let me get the right one up there for you. Denver ends up winning the meeting. The Kings fought back. It was another game where the Kings had to fight back. The Nuggets really controlled the game for the most part. I think what's so interesting about these matchups, and Jamal Murray was incredibly clutch down the stretch in this one too, is Jokic and Sabonis. They truly seem to just kind of cancel each other out sometimes. The play is that good. They just go off to their own corner, and it's almost like it's 4-on-4. And I mean that in the most respectful way. They just match up really, really well. And I kind of think sometimes now that Sabonis has got that three ball in him, that the matchup is starting to swing towards Domas. Because Jokic does not like to be out on the wing defensively. He doesn't want to be out that far. And Sabonis has been able to kind of drag him out because that opens things up for everybody else, especially if you got to involve him in the pick and roll with Monk and Sabonis. So the Kings are going to be looking to get another big win tonight, a win that's not going to be easy in Denver by any means. So give me your thoughts on that one. We'll continue talking about it. We'll also get really into it when it comes to the pregame show that begins tonight at 5:15. Make sure you're around for that. I do want to switch gears before we go back to the trade deadline and go through the Athletics article and talk about guys who you want to see, who you don't want to see, ups, downs, etc. I want to talk about this story really quick. So if you remember, we had Emran Pilati, owner of True Cards and Collectibles, on the show this summer. It was a great time. Huge thanks to him. He ended up donating a signed Malik Monk jersey, which we ended up giving away here on the channel. But he talked about the business of trading cards, how it's just changed and how it's evolving. Now you've got these different companies that are doing digital cards, but then they mail you the regular card. How some of these things are becoming legitimate investments, and how some of us still don't even know where our cards are at from when we were kids. And don't act like you're not scratching your head being like, damn it, I know that I had a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. Where did my parents put it? It's happened to all of us. I just hit my mom up like 6 months ago. Like, Mom, where's my cards? My wife had some of the original Pokemon cards. She had an original, I believe it was a Charmander. Now, I don't think it was like the crazy expensive one, but it would have been worth some money. So we've all been there, done that. The newest generation starting to really get into collecting, which I think is awesome. But Paul Skenes, who is the phenom pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, you might remember him from LSU, national champion there. Topps released a 1-of-1 rookie card for Paul. And it's, I don't know exactly what's on the card. It says Topps announced Tuesday that the card, which features the Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher autograph and a patch from a game-worn jersey, has been found. So to put it into a nutshell, Topps released a 1-of-1 card. And all of a sudden, this card finally pops up. It pops up in Los Angeles, of all places. And guess who got it? An 11-year-old kid. An 11-year-old boy ends up with this card. Find of a lifetime. Pull of a lifetime. Right? Well, all chaos has broken out since then. And I find this story so interesting and so nuanced and just kind of sad, to be quite honest with you. What used to be like that joy, that thrill, I mean, that kid probably had no idea what was in his pack. Like, when he saw that card, he probably had no idea what that was worth. But as soon as it was reported that this card was found, and by the way, before the card was found, there was already like bounties out there for this card. Like, if found, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. So it didn't take long for the Pittsburgh Pirates to reach out to the kid. And this is where the story gets weird. 11 years old. So if you're a parent out there and you have an 11-year-old, if you have a teenager, whatever it may be, I have a 10-year-old. If your kid pulled this card, how would you handle the situation? And I mean this honestly, because as a parent, you have to make sure that they don't do anything that's not in their best interest, right? But you also want to let them kind of drive the ship. It's their card after all, right? I mean, you educate them on what they have, but ultimately the decision should be up to them. And it's not like cards have expiration dates. Let's remember that as well. The better that Paul Skenes gets as a baseball player, the value of this thing's going to go up. But anyways, I digress. The Pittsburgh Pirates have offered, check this out. This is incredible. They tracked down the kid and they are offering him, in exchange for the card, a package which includes 30 years, not one, not two, not three, 30 years worth of season tickets behind home plate at PNC Park. 30 years. 30 years. Also an exclusive meet and greet, I believe a tour of the park, other perks. And Paul Skenes' girlfriend, who apparently is this college gymnast also at LSU, she's an quote-unquote influencer. She is sweetening the pot for this kid by offering him and his family the opportunity to come sit in her suite for a game in which Paul is pitching. Now, certainly there's a flip side to why the Pirates are offering this, because the card's worth a lot of money. Now, why are the Pirates offering it? Because Paul wants the damn card. And that's the other part that's like really confusing to me. It's like, why do you want your own 1-of-1 card? I don't want my own 1-of-1 card. Like, that's just weird to me. But the Pirates are pushing it because the Pirates want Paul to re-sign with the Pirates eventually. So this kid at 11 years old, who's probably not making any of these decisions, now has this massive decision, which doesn't seem to be on the table, which is the most smart decision. Just put the card in a damn vault and sit on it. If you sell the card, what are you going to do at 11 years old with $1 million? It's like having a ton of money in an investment account, but instead it's like this push to do something with the card. So I just find it to be incredibly just weird I don't want to say unsavory, but weird. It's taking excitement from something that all of us grew up with to like this super serious business transaction that it feels like this kid has zero control over. Zero control over. Yeah, I know, I do. But I didn't get that for myself, Tristan. Tristan, you know the story about that. I did not get that for myself. 30 years of Pirates games sounds rough. Haunted Horse has one of his wives. Wow, we're getting Haunted Horse smack in here.
Let's go see a porno.
Oh, there's Haunted Horse. Sell it ASAP. Richard Flores. Is that the Rich Flores? Rich, is that you? Is that you, Rich? Let me know. He'll have TJ and never be the same. It's a really interesting lifetime season tickets to all the parks would be worth it. But what if the kid's not even a baseball fan? You know? I mean, 30 years of season tickets is a lot of tickets. That's a lot of money. Yeah, hopping back to the Kings. 8.5 points tonight. I think it's a little bit low. Tristan, our resident Kings Court rodeo clown, Subowner. We're still going with Subowner. Haunted Horse is in love. Yes, Haunted Horse. We did this story on another show. And Haunted Horse, he could not continue the show. He was just awestruck by this girl. Like, Horse, is it the only thing coming up in your feeds right now? It's got to be the only things. Yeah. It's like, hey, Haunted Horse, take your eyes off Livy. Get back to work.
Cannot win with him. Cannot coach with him. Can't do it.
Can't do it. Can't go back to work. Once I've seen it, it can't be unseen. Livy Dunn's going to be my wife number 4. No, she's not, my man. Not going to happen, dude. Not going to happen. See, we'll see. So it's an interesting story to me. I wanted to bring it up. I don't know where you come out on it. I guess at the core of it, I feel really bad for this kid because he's 11 years old and he probably has no say in this entire thing. Like, mom and dad are probably driving the ship. And who knows if he'll even see a benefit out of this. All the kid did was bought a pack of cards. Was probably looking forward to put it in his book. Is that what kids do now? Put it in their books? Thank you, BG. Kings future picks, 2026 first round and 2027 second round and second round. Okay, perfect. Thanks for throwing that in. Oh, Boggy Cousins is here. What's up, Boggy? I wish there was a stat for how the Kings play in their back-to-backs. There is. It's so funny that you ask. There is a stat for how the Kings play in their back-to-backs. You want to check it out really quick? Here we go. Let's take the last off of that. So here's how the Kings play in their back-to-backs. We'll go to the full screen on this, and then we'll get to the Athletic column to close the show. Let me get to my stat share. So many screens here. Here we go. Okay, so this is how the Kings play in back-to-backs on 0 days rest. Surprisingly, they are 500. They're 500. They're 4-4. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. To be honest with you, anything that really sticks out now, their net rating, negative 2.3. That means they're grinding games out to have a negative net rating, but be 500. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. So they are 4-4 on the second night of a back-to-back. 12 three-pointers made. That kind of sticks out. In fact, the three-point shooting, Boggy, is not good. Boggy, the three-point shooting's terrible, actually. 32.9%. That goes back to last year, too. They did not shoot the ball well on the second night of back-to-back. Not that all teams, not that that isn't a problem for most teams, I should say. Back-to-backs, legs, they go hand in hand. But it's not bad. It's not like it was last year. Not like it was last year. So take a little bit of solace in that. Let's hop over really quick. Let's talk. You want to get your trade talks in. Now's the time to do it. We're looking at The Athletic and their newest article that they came out with. Different guys that might be on the market. The NBA trade deadline, 2 weeks away, and the rumor mill is starting to heat up. A lot could happen between now and February 6th. And many of the names below sound familiar if you've been following the news cycle in the past few weeks, but a few names might surprise you. Let's take a look at some of the players available on the market as of Wednesday afternoon. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is sometimes it's either good or bad to get ahead of the curve. Let me say that and give you one example. The example that I'm going to give you is the Utah Jazz. What they got for Rudy Gobert should have been illegal. Like, I don't know how they pulled that off, but they did. So that was them getting ahead of the curve, them basically getting something that was way over market value. It was seen as more of an outlier and not the norm. But you can have situations like this where you can be overpaid or you can overpay for a player, or conversely, it might be really expensive based on the first shoe that drops, and it might be the deal that sets the market. And it is the right price. So maybe you get in ahead of that deal. So it's a really interesting thing. Kings usually are more reactive than proactive. So it's not like I think they're going to be the first team that you see a tweet about from Sham saying, oh, the Kings have acquired blah, 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 blah. But I wonder what it's going to look like, because this past free agency period, I think that most guys did not get what they were looking for. Some got paid, but the majority of them, look at Valanciunas. His contract's like barely anything. He didn't get much. Malik Monk, hell, he didn't even try the open market. So very interesting. Let's see. Let's start at the top. Jimmy Butler, multiple first-round picks. Now, I think this is kind of consequential for the Western Conference. Not a secret. Phoenix trying to make a run at him. Matt Ishaba, their new owner, trying to make very bold moves instead of walking away from the deep hole that he has built and filling it back in. He is just digging that hole even deeper. I don't see the Warriors doing anything there, but I'm not giving up. Multiple first-round picks with a player option for next year, with a player right now that's in drama, deep drama with his team. In fact, there is some talk that if he's not traded, the Heat might be seeking a way to get him suspended for the rest of the season for insubordination. So Jimmy to Phoenix, that's the only move that I'm truly looking for. Zach LaVine still in talks. Maybe Zach LaVine to the Warriors? No, the Athletic says no. Magic, Rockets, Nuggets, and Heat. The Rockets dearly, dearly need a three-point shooter. Another good three-point shooter. I could see that. Do they have the assets? The Bulls would probably have to eat Fred VanVleet's deal for the rest of this year and next year. VanVleet's got a player option next year that he is picking up. So I don't think really anything gets done with LaVine. Cam Johnson, the one everybody's talking about. We know the going rate, a couple of first-round picks. The Athletic says a first-round pick and interesting prospects. So you wonder if Keegan Murray's name came up. You wonder if Devin Carter's name came up. But nonetheless, other destinations, the Thunder could get that done in a heartbeat if they wanted to. The Cavs, all right. The Lakers, I don't know how Cam is passive sometimes. So I don't know how well he would do in Los Angeles. It took JJ Redick to help Anthony Davis find his balls to stand up for himself and have the offense run through him. So if it takes JJ Redick, a first-time head coach, to get you to sack up and stand up for yourself, then I don't know if that's the right destination for you, although JJ might get it out of him. Who knows? But yeah, so that's Cam. He's under contract till 2027. So what do you think? I just think, honestly, this team would be better with another big. I think the way that Keon Ellis is playing on the perimeter and clearly showing you that he can guard multiple positions out there. He could guard a 3 on switches. I'm actually kind of okay writing it out with Devin Carter, who's also pretty long too. And Keon and Keegan. I don't know, and I mean this seriously. You could probably say Boston and Drew Holiday and Derek White, but behind them, is there a better defensive combination than Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray? It's pretty hard to argue. That Bay Area person that I was telling you about earlier was arguing that point right there. He thinks they're up there, and I don't necessarily disagree with them when it comes to that. And as for Sabonis and Monk, this is something that's underrated and newsworthy because we're playing the Nuggets tonight. There's only 4 duos in the NBA that have had 50 assists between each other, meaning you have assisted that person 50 times this season, and that person has assisted you 50 times this season. So 100 assists in all, but 50 between each side. Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis are 2 of them. Think about that for a second. There are 2 of them. And Malik just cracked the starting lineup a month and a half ago. Jokic and Murray are on that list. LeBron's on that list. It's insane. Insane to think about. So that's Cam Johnson for you. I want to scroll down and look and see if we find any other names that I am somewhat interested in. What do y'all think of Colin Sexton? I'm just curious. Not giving you my opinion on him. I'm curious what your opinion is on Colin Sexton. As you digest that, let's hear a little bit more sound from last night. Doug Christie talking about tonight's matchup with the Nuggets and possibly going deeper into the bench.
That's really who we want to be, is to make, miss.
My bad. This one.
It could. You know, these guys are professionals. Denver is always a hard back-to-back. It's always a hard game, period. You know, it's a long trip. Listen, we're professionals. This is what we do, and we're going to go there with the expectation to win the ball game. And once we throw it up, we're going to get at it. And as long as we play our style of basketball with the force and the decisiveness and the aggressiveness that I think I expect out of them, and now they expect out of themselves.
See, I go back to that analogy that I shared with you earlier in the show about, the force, the energy, the cohesiveness. That's sitting down at the table. And then the rest comes to you, and there's only one thing on the menu, and that's winning. So I like that message. I like that. Think about if you go to a Vegas buffet. You pay $70 or $80 for that ducat that you're not eating $70 or $80 of food. Like, where do you start? It's like, I don't want to waste time on the salad bar. Like, no, even though that's a hell of a salad bar, I'm not going there. And then it's like, oh, do I get the sushi? You know what I mean? It's like, where do you even start? And I get that. Mike Brown was talking about a lot of big things for a minute. So understood. John Collins, Mr. Collins. I would love to have him on this team. The question is, and I know you put it in the chat, dancing with Danny Ainge does not always work out with you or for you. He's probably going to step on your toes. But could you get him? Now, here's the other thing. Player option next year. Could you get him to stay? A lot of people in the fan base are concerned about size. Here's how I overturn that objection when it comes to Collins. Jerry Reynolds talked about it yesterday when Dirk called in. He played 5 for a lot of his time in Atlanta, but more importantly, he is so fundamentally sound. So when you are fundamentally sound, you can play bigger guys and be more effective. You know how I know? Domantas Sabonis. I think Collins, while he's a completely different player than Domas, they overlap when it comes to fundamentals. In fact, you could say Domas, Keegan, and Keon overlap when it comes to fundamentals. Hell, let's throw another player in there. DeMar DeRozan offensively. Overlap. Fundamentals. I think Collins fits that mix. Second rounders and salary matching. Salary matching. $26.9 million. So Trey Lyles, Kevin Huerter, that does it right there. Kevin's making 16.8. Trey Lyles expiring deal this year, making $8 million. You're pretty much there. You can make up the rest, but it goes back to that question that I started with. Setting the market. What's that look like? If you get John Collins early, do you have to pay as much of a premium on him as you might have to pay towards the end of the trade deadline after a ton of these other players possibly go? Now, certainly nothing could happen at the trade deadline. It's been that way before, but it doesn't feel like this deadline's lining up like that. So I guess timing is also very important when it comes to all this. Bobby Portis, that's a Jerry Reynolds guy, a big Jerry Reynolds guy. Are they going to be looking to go a different way? Could you get him possibly? Do you like him? $12.6 million contract matching. You can do that. Thoughts there? Valanciunas, popular name. A lot of you like Valanciunas. A lot of you.
Acknowledge me.
Acknowledging Valanciunas, $9.9 million. He just signed this summer too. That's what I was saying. This new CBA, brutal. Kings aren't even listed on here. I can tell you one place I don't want him to go. That's Los Angeles. I don't like seeing that name there. This seems like one of those moves that feels like a move from last year that the Mavs made. That didn't cost much. And they end up in the NBA Finals. Yo, Kings fans, you were ahead of the Mavs at the time in the standings. 2 years ago, the Lakers, they get D'Lo. They get Hachimura. You were ahead of them too. Where'd they end up? The Western Conference Finals. So when I talk about keeping pace, you got to keep pace with some of these other teams that are going to be looking to move. I don't want to see him in Los Angeles. I would rather see him in Sacramento. Stay the hell away from Kuzma, please. Kevin Huerter, welcome to the party, my man. Kevin Huerter, a very, very interesting name here in Sacktown because everybody has got a different opinion.
Welcome to the party, pal.
On Kevin Huerter. What do y'all think the value is? Let's go to the chat really quick. What do you think The Athletic, and don't go reading the article. Don't go reading the article and let me know. You guys think Kevin's hurt? Yeah, sit him down if he's hurt. Sit him down. I'm with you. Okay, Kevin Huerter. What's he worth? Drum roll says a good front court player for Huerter and a pick.
That's terrible.
So what's defined as a good front court player? Oof. Not even a second round pick, not even a first round pick, just a pick. I mean, could that be a toothpick? A nose pick? I don't know. A pick? Yeah, I know. Shut up, Ryan.
Shut up. Stop. Move forward.
All right. Moving forward. Any other names that you want to see? You remember a couple summers ago? Trade Fox for Simmons. Yeah. What's he worth? Salary matching in a bigger trade. You know what that means? You release him. You buy him out. So that's the list. Now, this one, before we end there, Jeremy Grant, very interesting. Salary matching in a second round pick. Hey, Haunted Horse. Can you get us a good deal, my man? I think Jeremy Grant would be nice here. Different player than Collins, different than Johnson, much different than Valanciunas. But what about Jeremy Grant? 29.8? What would you have to do to match that? That's Herter, Lyles. Man. Herter, Lyles. You're not giving up Keon, McLaughlin, and Crowder? Herter, Lyles, and one could get you there. Herter, Lyles, and Alex Len get you over the hump. So what do you think there? Jeremy Grant. I wouldn't mind Jeremy Grant. It's surprising that he's number 40 on this list. So the Athletic with their list, we'll see how this changes. We'll see if it comes to. We'll see if it holds any water at all. But I found it interesting because I think a lot of these different moves are going to be spot on or they're going to be way off. And it depends on the big fish. It depends on that trade that nobody sees coming, that inevitably comes every couple of trade deadlines. Kevin Durant 2 trade deadlines ago. So really interesting stuff there from the Athletic. Reminder, we're back at 5:15 tonight. Love to have you back for pregame. We'll get you ready for the Kings and the Nuggets. And if you don't think that we're ready to get you ready for the Kings and the Nuggets, we're ready. I mean, I've got everything pounded out for you. I got the Nuggets, all their stats. We're going to talk through their team stats. We're going to talk through their individuals. We'll go through how they do on back-to-back nights. And we've also got your Kings all set up as well. But again, 7th in the West. How cool is that? Good for the Kings so far. Anybody talking about the Fox stuff? I'm glad we didn't get too far down that road in terms of possibly trading him. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You are right. You would have to get a third team involved. Why do you know that? That's something you should know. Did you use AI for that? I know you used AI for that. Let's see. Do you know how involving a third team works, Horse? Just curious. Help me out there. Let me know. I'll be here for another 3-4 minutes. Anyways, so we'll be back tonight getting everything going. Len and Kevin for Nurkic. I don't know if I like Nurkic. I don't. Tristan, dude, you know. Yeah, you guessed. I knew it. I knew it. Like, he didn't know that. He did not know that. You know what? Here's the thing. Teams that are, you have to look at the position that teams are in and the contracts they're taking on. Because sometimes as fans, we look too much at the fit rather than the financials. When you look at the financials, that tells you a different story. And so it's not just looking at the player that you are trading, it's looking at the other team's books. And it's saying like, okay, they're just looking for somebody that they don't have to pay at the end of next year. Oh, they're just looking for a placeholder until this. And so you might see weird matchups where teams will take on guys like a Len that might not fit somewhere else if the money works and his contract expires. And there's different things that are tied to these deals that none of us know, that people are paid just for that job, to know what is involved in the deals, know the CBA. Like, for instance, Zach LaVine, this isn't reported much, but if he's traded, he gets an annual bump in his salary. There's these little things like that that are different in every deal. So unless you're looking at the contract, you really don't know, and they can play into stuff, unfortunately. And fortunately, depending on which side of the road you're on. We have to help this bench. I'm with you 100%. 100%. Percentage, I give the Kings to win tonight. I gave the Kings a 35% percentage to win in Boston tonight. I give the Kings, well, let's talk about it. Denver, we're getting ready to close up anyways, and we're going to do more of this in the pregame show. Denver has not played bad as of late. They're 8-2. They're doing good. Net rating plus 5.3. They're on a day's rest. They're 6-0 on a day's rest. They're scoring 120 points per game, which means, I probably hold it right at about the same place. I think if it's a game like last night, I put it at 35%. I would put it there. However, if it's a game like this, I'm going to go back to the meeting that was last year, right around this time. Let's get back to the right screen. Thank you. See that game right there? February 9th, 2024, or excuse me, February 14th, 2024. If the Kings can squeeze a game like this out of them, 101-97, if this is a game that's a race to 100 points and it's a grind, unlike last night, I think I put the Kings at about a 65% chance to win. So there it is. Actually surprised at the Kings' back-to-back record. Yep, 4-4. 4-4. There's a ton of stats. Like last night, this was a very surprising stat to me, and this is a bigger conversation that we will have, not right now because we don't have enough time, but just looking at the statistics between the games with De'Aaron Fox and the games without De'Aaron Fox since Doug Christie has taken over, there's a very drastic difference. And there was a big point to be made that the Kings played their best basketball in the fourth quarter last night with De'Aaron Fox on the bench and Keon Ellis on the floor. So going into last night, I'll give you this number and then we'll close. Going into last night, in 3 wins without De'Aaron Fox, so this does not include last night, the Kings' net rating is positive 17.3. 17.3. That's massive. In the 3-1 record with De'Aaron Fox, which was going into last night, the Kings' net rating, a positive 4.5. So, when we go back to those combinations that we talked about, the 5-mans, it's the evidence is there. And the bigger question about whether or not, how does Fox fit into all of this? Because a lot of people saying they like the way he played last night. I do like what he did on defense. I love the free throws. He only had a couple of lapses in judgment when it came to time and decision-making, a couple of those in the fourth quarter. But to be fair, Malik Monk had a couple of those as well. If what last night is how De'Aaron Fox fits on a Sacramento Kings team going forward, like if that is the best, if that's the version of De'Aaron Fox that you need for this team to function at its best, and let me remind you of his numbers last night. 14 points. He only had 6 going into the fourth quarter. He was 10-10 from the free throw line, 5 assists, no turnovers. That's really good. And 5 rebounds. I don't know that I'm paying $40 to $60 million a year for that. That seems like a couple of really good pieces that this team could add instead. So, look, I've gotten a scenario in my head that I think would take this team to the next level. I'm not going to get there now because we don't have enough show left. But I do like that De'Aaron is not mailing it in. He's working his ass off on defense. And offensively, he only took 4 threes last night, or 3 threes. So I'm not going to hit him for that. But the ball stops a little bit too much there. It does. I can't, in good faith, say it's okay for Keon Ellis to only have 2 3-point shots when he's the second best 3-point shooter on the team. Feeling nervous about tonight's game, to be honest. Yeah, you should, because of the travel. It's a hard one. Debo was ignoring Fox at times and passed it to Domas instead. Well, their net rating's incredible together, so I don't blame them for that. So, all right, we're going to get out. Don't forget, we've got a full night left of coverage here. Big thanks to Envision. Big thanks to Bennett's Westside Grill. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. Don't forget, Grant and I close the night up for you with the post-game show, taking your calls, getting you ready or getting you all set for the game after tonight, but also breaking it down. Hopefully we're talking about a Kings win. And again, your calls and comments. Halftime, Jerry Reynolds will be joining me at the intermission. Join us. But first, pregame, 5:15, we'll be taking your calls, getting you ready, giving you all the numbers for the Kings and the Nuggets, and hopefully talking about another dub. Your Kings sit in the 7 seed right now. How about that? Tough test tonight in Denver. Will they be up to it? We will see. Go Kings. By the way, y'all, I got audio of Draymond Green. I think I told you earlier in the hall last night after the game.
Light the beam. Light it.
Yeah. There you go, Dre. Go Kings. Light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. Court is dismissed.